Hey everybody, and welcome to Hackcon. We have 2 action-packed days of activities, content, and announcements ahead of us, and we cannot wait to hear what you all think about it. I'm Swift. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Major League Hacking. If you're interested in staying in touch with me during or after this talk, you can find me on Twitter. It's at SwiftAlpha1. You can email me at swift@mlh.io. I do my best to get back to every single community member who reaches out to me, so do please feel free to use those channels. Being here with you this weekend is one of the greatest honors that I could ever ask for in my life. Like many of you, discovering this community changed my life and put me on a radically different trajectory. In fact, attending my first hackathon gave me the courage to follow my passion. My hackathon story starts back when I was in high school. Back then, I was running a small landscaping business in my parents' hometown. While all of my friends were working in restaurants, bussing tables, and serving, I was enjoying the outdoors, mowing grass, and enjoying life. When time came up to go off to college, my parents astutely pointed out that I was gonna need a new job. If I brought that lawnmower to my dorm room, my roommate probably would have killed me in my sleep. I recognized that they were right, and I did what any enterprising young college student would do. I went on the university job board, I sorted the jobs by how much they paid, I clicked the one that paid the most, and I applied for it. A few days later, I got an email inviting me to come in and interview. I was ecstatic, I couldn't believe it. But there was one problem. It was a programming job, and I had never programmed before in my life. I thought, surely there must be some kind of mistake. I mean, I like computers, and I'm definitely willing to learn, but they must be better off hiring a real programmer for the task. But thanks to some encouragement from my friends and family, I decided to take that interview. And to my surprise, they actually offered me the job. I spent the next 2 years writing accounting software in PHP, of all things. I know, it's really bad in retrospect, but it was a great job, though, and I learned so much doing it. But here's the thing. I never told anybody about that job. At the time, I was super embarrassed by it. I didn't want to be a programmer. I wanted to be a lawyer. Back then, none of my friends were programmers. Startups weren't really a thing yet, and when people heard the word programmer, they thought of Dilbert. So I kept that job to myself. Now, fast forward a few years, and I remember this day perfectly because it had just snowed, and we were building an igloo in our backyard. But I had to leave to go and finish up a website that I was building for work. One of my friends said, "Hey, what happened to Swift?" And my roommate at the time had had enough of the secrecy. He said, "He is in our room programming. That's what he does for a job. He just doesn't want any of you to know." That friend jumped up and came running to my room. He burst through my door and he said, "Hey, I hear you program. I'm going to this thing this weekend called a hackathon, and you have to come with me." I had no idea what a hackathon was. And from what he told me, it sounded like it was an event for the best programmers in the world, not a complete beginner like me. But my friend, he swore up and down that I would be welcome there, and I would have a great experience. And luckily, I listened to him. That hackathon was Hack NY at NYU in the fall of 2010. When I walked into that room, I discovered a community that blew me away. There were 100 other college students who had given up a weekend of partying to stay up all night, making a crazy idea come to life, and then sharing it with a room full of complete strangers. I had never seen anything like it before. I spent the next 24 hours trying to build a mashup of the Facebook and Dropbox APIs. It was going to be a file-sharing network for you and all of your friends. Funny story, I accidentally locked myself out of my own hack at the end of the hackathon and couldn't even demo it. It was so embarrassing. But when I got home after that hackathon, I was obviously exhausted. I passed out immediately from being up all night. But when I woke up, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, that was the best experience of my life. Forget being a lawyer, I want to be a hacker. And so the next day, I switched my major to computer science. And I started going to every hackathon I could get my hands on, which was not that many back then, trust me. For the first time in my life, I felt like I found a community where I belonged. And I wanted to share that with everybody that I knew. Since that day, almost a decade ago, that's how long ago this was, I've been doing everything in my power to tell the world what it means to be a hacker and enable anyone to become one. And at the time when this all happened, I thought my story was pretty unique. Most of the people that I met at hackathons, they'd known they wanted to be programmers since a really early age. I, on the other hand, had accidentally stumbled into this community through a side door. As time went on, though, I met more and more people who had the same story I did. Discovering this community changed their lives. Without it, who knows where they'd be? A handful of them, they even went on to start hackathons at their own schools. They wanted to bring that life-changing experience to the students there. And today, there are over 2,500 of those people in the MLH community alone, including more than 450 of you here today, right now. You all recognize the impact of joining this community, and you have dedicated yourselves to spreading that to as many aspiring hackers as you possibly can. Watching you lead this exploding movement is inspirational, to say the least. After watching so many organizers struggle with the same challenges, and knowing the impact of their work firsthand, I knew that I had to do something about it. And shortly after, I started Major League Hacking for exactly that reason. Eventually, I even found a handful of people who were crazy enough to come and work on it with me. And today, I'm proud to say that there are over 50 people working at Major League Hacking in some capacity. This is Team MLH, or some of them. Whether you're an organizer who's been working with us since the very beginning, or you're joining us for the first time today, we are proud to serve you. And we cannot wait to see what you're able to accomplish in the years ahead. Between me, the 2,500 organizers of the MLH community, and all of these people who work at Major League Hacking, it's pretty clear that my story is not actually that unique at all. Each of us found something in this community that was important enough to pour our hearts and souls into it. And at the center of this exploding movement, there are two really important trends that I think each and every one of you should know about. The first one is that technology is eating the world. Since the dawn of computers, the world has changed faster and more dramatically than at any other point in human history. Today, nearly 50% of the world's population uses the internet. Getting half the people on this planet to do anything is a dramatic undertaking, and that should tell you just how important this is. I think this quote from the director of engineering at Google summarizes how things are changing really nicely. We're going to experience more change this century than in the entire history of human civilization. And what that means for you and me is that technology is going to be changing every single day. And it is a race to keep up with all of it. Because of how quickly things change, we've started to really value people who can learn new, complicated things quickly. If they can't, they're going to get left behind before they even know what's going on. And I feel this personally, too. I only stopped programming full-time about 4 years ago. Today, when I'm out at your hackathons helping hackers debug their code, I feel ancient. This change has really highlighted for me the fact that education is a continuous process. But there's a problem. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, by 2020, there will be 1 million unfilled computer science jobs in the United States. That's just 2 years from now. And when you think about it, it's actually not that surprising at all, because Only 3% of students study computer science in the United States. To put that number into perspective, twice as many people are studying psychology. 3 times as many people are studying history. And 6 times as many people are studying business. Now, those are all great fields. But considering that humanity is experiencing a time of unprecedented technological change and reliance on that technology, you would think that more people would be interested in acquiring the skills that is necessary to lead that change. And meanwhile, enrollment at Learn to Code boot camps, it's exploding. It's grown by more than 10x since 2013. And while this still represents a much smaller number of people than those studying computer science traditionally, this massive spike is a direct result of the second trend. The fact of the matter is, our technical education system is broken. Students are not getting the skills that they need to be successful in the workforce in the classroom. And they are actively turning to alternative sources like boot camps to get those skills. And frankly, I don't blame them, because I did exactly the same thing. There is a very real gap between the technology that we teach in the classroom and the technology that we use in industry. And that gap gets wider and wider every single day. By the time we do actually get to update our curriculum and get new devices, it's all basically outdated. The industry has moved on. And asking the people who are teaching this stuff to keep up with all that change, it's like asking them to take on a second full-time job. It's ridiculous. Many of the classroom technology triumphs that we do have, well, they're not really triumphs at all. This quote by Georgetown professor Cal Newport says everything. Using iPads and YouTube, those are the things I want to teach my parents and my grandparents, not the next generation of young technology leaders. So what happens when you combine a world experiencing unprecedented technological change and a broken education system that cannot train people fast enough? Well, you get the student hacker revolution. Tens of thousands of young technologists giving up their free time to get together and learn the skills that they are not getting in the classroom by bringing crazy ideas to life and then sharing them with each other. It sounds absolutely ridiculous, and it is. But it's working. And I can see that firsthand, because the people in this room, you're the ones leading the charge. And hackers agree that it's working too. 84% of the hackers who went to your events last year, they said they were getting skills at those hackathons that they were not getting in the classroom. And I had the same experience back in 2010. So clearly things aren't getting any better. But your events, they're more than just a replacement for a classroom. Your hackathons, your workshops, they're peer-led and project-based. That means that hackers are able to learn things faster and more effectively than they would in any classroom anyway. In addition, your events are bringing together a more diverse group of people than any CS classroom. In fact, by gender, they were more than 50% more diverse last year. And while that's only one dimension of many, it's a huge accomplishment, and you should all be incredibly proud of that. But that's not the only thing we have to be proud of this year. Collectively, you partnered with MLH to organize over 750 hackathons, workshops, and hacker meetups all around the world last year. That is an insane undertaking, and each and every one of you should be so proud of that. This is a 65% increase from last year. That means the hackers in your communities were able to get together 65% more often than they were the year before. But you didn't just organize all those events for yourselves. 71,000 hackers came out to those events last year to learn skills they weren't getting in class, gain hands-on experience by building something awesome, and to share their creations with the world. That's an insane accomplishment. Give yourselves a huge round of applause for all that. And the people at Major League Hacking, we were right there with you every step of the way. And that's because we have the same mission that you all do. And our mission is to empower hackers. In fact, that mission is so important to us that we made it an official part of our company's DNA 2 years ago by becoming an official certified B Corporation. For those of you who are not familiar with B Corps, They're a new breed of for-profit companies. They believe that social impact and there can be more important ideas than profit in making business. B Corps are mission-driven, and they're held to the highest standards of accountability and excellence in the pursuit of that mission. This year, we took the final step in our B Corp journey. We officially became Major League Hacking PBC. PBC stands for Public Benefit Corporation. That means that our mission and our commitment to operating in a sustainable and responsible manner is now legally recognized by the government. And this year, it marked another amazing accomplishment in Major League Hacking's journey as well. We empowered our 250,000th hacker. That means that we had 250,000 opportunities for hackers to experience the same life-changing events that we all did. And that happened because they attended your events, and that is incredible, and you should be so proud of that. And it's all thanks to your tireless work and the amazing organizers in this community, and many of you right here in this room. I have a feeling we're going to do a lot of clapping today, so be ready for that. You recognize the impact of joining this community, and you have dedicated yourselves to spreading that to as many aspiring hackers as you possibly can. Now, I say this every year at Hackcon, but it is as true today as it was in 2014 when I said it for the first time. This has been a huge year for student hackers. And as I said at the very beginning of this talk, it is a great honor for me to be up here sharing in that success with you today. Congratulations, everybody. So next, I'd like to dive into some of the stories of the people behind all of this success. And trust me, I could literally spend all day up here telling stories, but Nick told me I only have time for 3. I picked 3 really inspiring ones, though, and they're about people in this very room right now. The first person I'd like to introduce you to is Sumaya. Sumaya took an interest in technology at a young age. Growing up, she jumped at every chance she had to use the family computer. And when she was finally old enough for school, she took every computer class she could get her hands on. But sadly, Sumaya got bored really quickly. She realized that those classes were focused on the absolute basics, like word processing. By the time came for her to head off to college, our education system had completely derailed Sumaya's interest. Instead, she decided to study psychology and English with the goal of heading to med school. But when the time came for Sumaya to actually go to med school, something didn't feel right. She remembered when she was a child feeling that passion for technology, and she just didn't feel the same way about medicine. Ultimately, Sumaya decided to take a huge risk. She returned to school for a second degree, this time studying computer science at Queens College. Sumaya's transition into CS was difficult, to say the least. She didn't really know anybody yet, and at the time, Queens College didn't really have a hacker community that she could join. On top of that, there were almost no other women in her CS classes. And it seemed like everyone she met had been coding since such a young age. To put it frankly, Sumaya didn't feel welcome. But luckily, she wasn't discouraged. She was determined to find a community and to fully explore her interest in technology. And one day, everything changed when a friend invited her to this thing called a hackathon. Sumaya almost didn't go to that hackathon, though. Everything she read about them online said that these events were elite competitions for the world's best coders. Sumaya was a complete beginner. What if she wasn't good enough? But luckily, her friend's encouragement prevailed. Sumaya's first hackathon was Technica. Is there anybody from Technica in the room by chance? When she arrived, she was surprised to find a community that was basically the complete opposite of everything she'd read about. Hackathons were a place to learn. Everyone was so friendly. And she knew she had to bring that community back to Queens College with her. At Technica, Sumaya learned about Major League hacking. And on our website, she learned about a program called MLH Localhost, which we launched last year at Hackcon. Localhost is a program that makes it easy for anyone to start organizing awesome hacker events in their local community. With a huge library of pre-built content, all you have to do is pick a workshop or activity that you're interested in and request to host it. A few days later, a box shows up on your doorstep with everything you need to run the event. It's got things like stickers and slides and so much more in it. And you don't need to be an expert in that technology to do this. In fact, you don't need to know anything about that technology at all. These workshops are designed to be delivered by non-experts, and you'll have an MLH mentor with you every step of the way, teaching you all the things you need to know. There were so many great localhost workshops to choose from. Everything from building your first website, intro to the Amazon Alexa, learning GraphQL with Shopify. Sumaya partnered with the Tech Incubator program at Queens College. She was going to host a weekly workshop series that was entirely powered by MLH Localhost content. She ran all 9 modules that were available over 9 weeks, and nearly 100 people registered to go. Many of them had never even coded before they showed up. It was a huge success, and her work has contributed to a massive growth in the community at Queens. In fact, many of them are here with us today, right now, and they're actually planning their first hackathon this fall, which is insanely exciting. We are so proud to have been able to support Sumaya. We provided her the content that she needed to bring her community together for the first time. And she plans to continue organizing workshops this entire semester. And she's not the only one. In the last year, since the last Hackcon, you have organized over 350 MLH localhost workshops and activities. That's more than a 500% increase since we announced the program. You've been using this content for everything: regular club meetings, day-long educational conferences, content for your hackathons. And we want you to organize even more amazing localhost workshops and activities in the year ahead too. And that's why I'm excited to announce that we are doubling our content library again. By December, you can expect to have access to more than 22 amazing workshops and activities through the MLH Localhost program. And these modules, they're gonna cover the latest and greatest technologies, the things that your hackers want to learn. Topics like blockchain, building and deploying apps from Node.js and Azure, creating Unity games, writing Slack bots, and even how to write an app without using a single line of code. As you know, hackers are not getting this stuff in the classroom. Somebody has to bring it to them, and why shouldn't that be you? If you do start bringing MLH localhost content to your community, we want to do everything in our power to make you successful. And that's why we're launching a new program called Momentum Rewards. We know that strong communities gather regularly. Organizers who regularly use MLH localhost content to bring that community together, well, we're going to reward them with awesome benefits. Things like exclusive swag and stickers to give out at those events, early access to new localhost content, and even free pizza for those meetings. You're automatically enrolled in Momentum Rewards as soon as you organize your first localhost event. And for every event you organize after that, you earn points towards unlocking even more amazing rewards as you go. MLH Localhost is still a brand new program. But with success stories like Sumaya and so many others, it's showing a lot of promise. We can't wait to see how Sumaya and all of you use Localhost to empower your communities in the year ahead. You can sign up to bring workshops and activities to your school and your community right now at localhost.mlh.io. The next person I'd like to introduce you to is Cameron. Cameron's hackathon journey actually started in high school. He heard about hackathons through a local organization called Student R&D. Although his first hackathon was a small event with less than 100 people, and it took place in a strip mall, Cameron walked away from his first hackathon inspired by the experience. Eventually, he went to college at Harvard University, where he discovered a local hacker club called Hack Harvard. The club was pretty small, and they didn't meet very often, but Cameron saw potential. He knew that a big flagship event could turn that entire community around. They had never organized a hackathon before, but Cameron, catalyzed by his experience at his first event, would be one of the driving forces in planning that first hackathon at Harvard. That event was Hack Harvard in the fall of 2015. As a group of first-time organizers, they needed all the help they could get. They reached out to Major League Hacking for support, and with a lot of hard work, they became an MLH member event that season. When the event finally happened, over 500 hackers showed up, and it was awesome. With a successful event under his belt, Cameron was fully energized and ready to bring even more hackathons to the Harvard community. A few years later, Hack Harvard was thriving. Cameron had mentored and trained almost an entirely new set of organizers, and they were doing a great job running the hackathon. He was ready to set his sights on a new challenge. He saw a gap in the Harvard community. There were lots of great events for software hackers, but there was almost nothing focused on hardware. And as an electrical engineering major, he felt like he had an obligation to do something. So he decided to organize Make Harvard, a hardware-focused hackathon. And he partnered with his school's engineering society to do it. But there was a problem. They had never organized a hackathon before. Luckily, Cameron was there to support them every step of the way. By tapping into his experience organizing Hack Harvard and building that community of organizers, he was able to teach them all of the skills they needed to be successful. Although Cameron was the only organizer on that team with any hackathon organizing experience, he attributes all of the success of the event to the organizers that he mentored along the way. By taking a step back and playing a supporting role, he was able to develop a strong team that is now carrying the torch into the future. But Cameron's hackathon organizing journey, it wasn't over yet. Out of the blue, he received an email from a Harvard Business School student. They were looking for advice. They had claimed that they managed to convince the Vatican to organize their first hackathon. And they wanted Cameron's help. He thought it was the most elaborate spam email of all time. He couldn't believe it. This was great. But when he realized it wasn't spam, he immediately saw the potential. Running this event once would be a huge accomplishment. But to build a team that could sustain it in the future would break down real cultural barriers. So Cameron did what he does best. He built a team. By tapping into his experience and expertise from organizing Hack Harvard and Make Harvard and building those communities of organizers, he was able to successfully organize the Vatican's first hackathon, VHacks, and it was a resounding success. This event was covered in Wired, The Guardian, and so many other news outlets. Even the Pope mentioned it during his daily address. How many of us can say that we've had the Pope talk about something we did? It's incredible. Cameron built 3 amazingly successful hackathons, and each one now has a team of organizers committed to their future. His expertise and willingness to mentor all of the other organizers made the difference. That's why we're excited to announce something we've been working on all summer. MLH organizer peer groups. These weekly online mentorship sessions are designed to create the same environment that Cameron was able to create for the organizers in his community. Organizers from across the MLH community join these small, casual video calls where they talk through the challenges that they're facing. And they work as a group to identify strategies and tactics that they can put into place immediately to address those challenges. All of this happens under the expert guidance of an MLH community manager who's there facilitating the conversation. These groups cover topics from building a team, raising sponsorship, marketing your event, and so much more. To give you a taste of what peer groups are like, we're running a number of in-person peer groups here at Hackcon this weekend. You can find them on the event schedule. They should be live in a few minutes, and we hope to see you at one. Word on the street is there's exclusive Hackcon stickers at all of those peer groups. And if you want to keep the momentum up after Hackcon, you can go ahead and sign up for a virtual peer group right now today, starting next week at that URL. We're going to have these every single week, And you'll be able to get together with organizers in this community and recreate this amazing experience you're having at Hackcon throughout the course of the year. Another thing that we learned from talking to organizers during peer groups is that there are many promising events that sometimes struggle to get over the finish line when it comes to raising sponsorship. That's why today I'm excited to announce a new grant program. It's called the MLH Finish Line Fund. This grant program is designed to help those otherwise promising events get over the finish line, to raise the budget they need to put on an amazing hackathon. Events that regularly participate in peer groups, work closely with MLH, and support other organizers in the community will be eligible to receive a grant of up to $2,500 to help them get over the finish line. And while this is not meant to be a replacement for raising sponsorship, we believe that having access to small but meaningful grants can make a huge difference. This is things like the Finish Line Fund and the $1,000 first-time member event grants powered by GitHub that we've been giving out for years. We'll have way more info about this grant program and a bunch of others in the future, so stay tuned for that. Finally, organizers are not the only people who could use a mentor. Did you know that on average, 25% of the hackers who came out to your events last year didn't end up demoing a hack? That's because many of them got stuck on a bug that they didn't know how to get past. Having access to a mentor would have helped them finish their project. And while many hackathons have great mentors on site, it can be really intimidating to go up and approach one of them and ask for help. And sometimes they're just not around. Today, I'm excited to announce a new program we're working on, the MLH Mentor Hotline. We partnered up with our friends at Twilio to connect the hackers and mentors at your events. Hackers will have access to an MLH shortcode that they can text whenever they have a bug. They'll give a description of the problem and their location of the event, and suddenly, a wild mentor will appear, ready to help. We believe that having access to a great mentor, just an SMS away, can be the difference between going home and demoing a hack for many people. The MLH Mentor Hotline will be launching later this fall. Stay tuned for more details. And now, my final story. I'd like you to meet Akshaya. She's got some fans here. Akshaya's story, it starts when she took a Java course in 8th grade online. She learned the basics of programming and was eager to learn more. A year later, when she found out that her high school offered an Intro to CS course, she jumped at the chance to take it. And while Akshaya really enjoyed that class, she felt the curriculum was limited. The school was just under-resourced, and she was stuck in a dead end. Even her teacher didn't know where to direct her to keep pursuing her passions. A few years later, Akshaya was participating in a math competition for her school. While she was networking with some of the other students, something caught her eye. It was one of the other participants' laptops. It was covered in the coolest stickers she had ever seen. And one of them, it really stood out. It was just 3 letters, MLH. When she got home, she looked up MLH, and Akshaya, she fell down the rabbit hole. She had never heard of hackathons before, but they seemed like the perfect place to explore her interest in technology. She found a hackathon that was happening nearby and decided to go. When she got to that hackathon and opened the door, Akshaya felt her stomach drop. She had made a huge mistake. Looking around the room, everyone was older than her. She was just 14 at the time. And there were no other women to be seen. She immediately turned around to run away. But luckily, her mom was there to console her. She convinced her to go into the hackathon and try to find a team. Akshaya managed to find the only other high school girls at that event, and she joined a team with them. She had a blast at her first hackathon and learned more from making that project than she could have ever dreamed of. Akshaya was hooked. She started going to every hackathon she could get her hands on. Since 2015, Akshaya has been to more than 40 hackathons. How insane is that? She found a community where she felt like she belonged. And she learned so much along the way. At every one of those hackathons, Akshaya would see amazing hackers demoing the coolest projects she could imagine on stage. And one day, she hoped that she could join them there. Little did she know, that day was coming much sooner than she expected. In 2016, Akshaya's team took first place at Penn Apps. They beat out hundreds of other university and high school student teams. And a few weeks after that, they won the TechCrunch Disrupt Hackathon in New York City. That is one of the most prolific and well-known professional hackathons in the world. Akshaya, this high school girl, was beating out all of these other amazing hackers to show up on stage. She felt like she had made it. But Akshaya, she never forgot that first hackathon experience. The feelings of isolation and imposter syndrome, they were devastating. And without her mother's encouragement, who knows where she would be right now? So, she decided to do something about it. Akshaya formed a nonprofit organization called Girls Make Apps. Their mission is to provide a free CS education to girls from middle school all the way to college. They want girls to know that technology is about more than ones and zeros. It's about making an impact. It's about making the world a better place, and they can be at the forefront of that change. Since she started the organization, she's built an incredible team of 11 other girls who had the same experience that she did. Together, they've empowered over 600 young female technologists and helped spark a passion in technology that never existed before. One of Girls Make Apps' biggest initiatives is a 24-hour all-women hackathon called Byte Hacks. It is the largest all-women hackathon in New York City, the birthplace of student hackathons. They organized the event for the first time last year and attracted over 200 women technologists to the event. Now, they're working on the second iteration of the hackathon, and it's one of the first hackathons of MLH's 2019 hackathon season. It's gonna be awesome. And despite her early success, Akshaya's adventure is literally just starting. At many of those hackathons, she saw people from Major League Hacking running around, supporting organizers, mentoring hackers. And eventually, she cornered one of them to ask what they did. That person was Sharon Lynn. If you remember, you were here at Hackcon last year, I featured her during the keynote. Sharon told Akshaya that she was an MLH coach. Her job is to act as an extension of the organizing team, to do everything in her power to make sure that the event was successful and every one of those organizers reached their goals. And of course, along the way, she'd make sure that hackers had a great time too. The best part, it was a paid gig. Akshaya couldn't believe it. Getting paid to go to hackathons and empower hackers, it seemed like a dream. And so she applied, and she got into the program. Akshaya is starting this fall, and she will be out at your hackathons this season supporting you. We are insanely lucky to have her, and we can't wait to see what she accomplishes. When Akshaya hit that dead end in her CS journey early on, she encountered the same problem that the hackers who go to your events are encountering. And luckily for her, there were a ton of other amazing hackathons out there during the MLH season and beyond for her to participate in. We are excited to continue that trend in 2019 with the 2019 Hackathon season. And today, I'd like to introduce you to the mascot. Meet Crypto Chameleon. You'll be seeing her on everything from stickers to t-shirts, which we'll be giving out at your events at an unprecedented scale. And while swag seems like such a trivial thing, it's the thing that introduced Akshaya to this community in the first place. And she's not alone. Hackers love swag. They love to show off their pride for being a part of this community. And from what I've heard, organizers do too. And that's why we've got a special surprise for you. We've got limited edition Crypto Chameleon hats that we're gonna give out right now. And stickers too. But wait, there's so much more. We're gonna be giving out all kinds of amazing Crypto Chameleon stuff here at Hackcon, and there will be way more at your events this season. Just wait until you see these t-shirts. The designer of them is actually here in the room somewhere too. We also have special holographic versions of the stickers that the coaches will be giving out at your events as well. But here's the thing. While swag, it's important, and we know why, the truth is, it does not enable hackers to make amazing things. Which, believe it or not, despite what you'd think by seeing hackers take all that free stuff, is actually the reason they go to hackathons. I know, surprising, right? Luckily, though, we're going to be bringing a ton of other resources to your events this season to help hackers do just that. For starters, the MLH Hardware Lab is getting a complete makeover. Our friends at DigiKey have agreed to become the presenting partner of the lab, and they are decking it out with more sensors and components than you could ever imagine. This is going to unlock an entirely new wave of hardware hacks that we have never seen before. Between their new resources, new laptops from Dell, Google Homes, Fitbit watches, and all of the devices that you know and love, MLH is going to be bringing over $15,000 in hardware to every event. And all of these devices, they'll be available for hackers to use for free to bring their crazy ideas to life. We actually have a bunch of that hardware here this weekend for you to get a sneak preview of. Next up, by popular demand, we've scaled up the software lab significantly. With new APIs that cover everything from payments to mapping to search to artificial intelligence and so much more. And of course, each of our partners has a special promo just for your hackers. Cumulatively, this adds up to over $3,000 in software value to your hackers to help them build something amazing at your events. And finally, prizes. Everyone loves prizes. Winning a prize at PennApps, that meant the world to Akshaya. For most hackers, though, just winning a sponsor challenge or a category prize can be enough to spark a lifelong passion in technology. That's why we're making 3 times the prizes available to your hackers through MLH this season. In total, we are bringing over $3,500 in prizes to every one of your events. That's more than a 400% increase that you'll have access to for hackers this season. And we can't wait to see what they build with all this new amazing hardware, software, and prizes to incentivize this season, all of it provided by MLH and you and all the work you do. We can't wait. Joining the coaches program for Akshaya was a dream come true. She loved hackathons. And being paid to go to them, that was almost unimaginable. Many of our most passionate community members, though, they contribute to the student hacker revolution in different ways. And that's why I'm excited to announce another expansion this weekend. This one is to the coaches program. This expansion will enable our most dedicated community members to contribute to this program by going deeper into the things they are already passionate about. In addition to, or alternatively to hackathons, coaches will now be able to get hands-on experience writing technical content in the form of tutorials that will be available to your hackers. That's through a program called Content Launchpad. And becoming an expert community builder, they'll be able to do that through piloting new local host workshops on campus. Right now, these programs are only available to the current batch of coaches, but we expect to roll these out to you later next year. So between doubling our MLH local host content, launching Momentum Rewards, bringing all of you together more regularly between Hackcons through peer groups, connecting hackers to mentors through the MLH Mentor Hotline, bringing tons of new value to you in the form of the 2019 Hackathon season, and growing the coaches program, this is going to be a huge year for student hackers. And we are really, really excited about all of it. Whew. That's a lot, huh? Yeah. But there's something I forgot. There is one event that we haven't talked about yet, and it is a really, really important one. It is consistently responsible for creating and empowering more new communities, new organizers, and new hackers than anything else Major League Hacking does. And that event is Local Hack Day. Every year, we pick one day, and we help organizers put on as many simultaneous 12-hour hackathons for the local communities as we possibly can. This is a global event. It spans 6 continents and more cities and countries than I can keep track of. Going to or planning a weekend-long hackathon, that can be an incredibly scary experience. Local hack days, they're designed to be gentle introductions for both hackers and organizers to this community and to our events. For new hackers, It's easy to commit to. These events are short. They're learning-focused. They're free. They happen right in their backyard. For new organizers, they're logistically simple. It's a great way to get a crash course in event planning before your first overnight hackathon. When we started organizing Local Hack Day 4 years ago, we didn't know what would happen, but it has been a resounding success. Last year, you organized over 225 Local Hack Days all on the same day. Here's something even crazier. Those events brought out 6,000 hackers. That's almost 10% of all the hackers that we empowered last year on a single day. And this is not an exception. Looking back at the last 4 years, on average, Local Hack Day has grown by 90% year over year. If we keep up this trend, Local Hack Day in 5 years will bring together more students in one day than all of the students studying computer science in the United States. That's incredible. And in the spirit of that, I'm excited to announce that Local Hack Day is back in 2018, and it will be bigger and better than ever. This year, the event will happen on December 1st, and we have been hard at work lining up some really special stuff for it. I know many of you have been emailing me anxiously, when will Local Hack Day registration be open? Well, you're in luck. Pre-registration is live right now. You can go to localhackday.mlh.io and sign up today. And this is going to be the biggest and best Local Hack Day yet. And there's one more thing. While all the success we've seen for Local Hack Day has been incredibly encouraging, I think we can do better. To do that, though, Local Hack Day is going to have to evolve. And that's why I'm excited to announce, starting in 2019, you're not just going to get one Local Hack Day, you're going to get 3. Think back on the stories that I told you today. Sumaya grew her hacker community by enabling hackers to gather regularly to learn new skills through MLH localhost content. Cameron brought together his 3 incredibly successful hackathons where hackers are able to build amazing things. And Akshaya, she gave the girls in her community the courage to follow their interests by enabling them to share that journey together. They each tackled the same problem in a different way, and we're going to bring you 3 Local Hack Days, one that tackles this community challenge in a different way. I'd like to introduce you to MLH Learn, Build, and Share. Each one of these will be focused on a different one of the approaches that we talked about today. Starting in the early fall with MLH Learn, organizers around the world will organize mini developer conferences on campus. They'll tap into the amazing content that the MLH localhost team is launching. Hackers will learn a ton of new skills that they are not getting in the classroom. Then, in the winter, with MLH Build, organizers will embrace the spirit of the original Local Hack Day by hosting 12-hour hackathons on campus. Hackers of all skill levels will come together and walk away with valuable hands-on experience building something awesome. And finally, in the late spring, at MLH Share, organizers will gather their communities to celebrate all of their amazing accomplishments. By hosting an event where hackers can demo the amazing things they built at your events over the course of the season, put the finishing touches on them, and share their work with the world through open source and updating their portfolios. Although each of these events takes a different approach to community building, they will all live under the Local Hack Day brand. We'll have a lot more info about these events in the month ahead, and we can't wait to hear what you think of them. If you organize a Local Hack Day this December, you'll be the first to know about these new events, and you may even get some secret perks. So, I hope you enjoyed my talk today, learned something valuable, and you're as excited as I am about all these amazing things we're doing in the coming year. As a reminder, you can follow me on Twitter at SwiftAlpha1. I'll be tweeting the slides from this talk immediately afterwards. And later this week, I'll be publishing a blog post summarizing all of this incredible stuff. And with that, I'd like to transition to a few minutes of Q&A that John is going to help me run. Thanks, everyone.
Let's give Swift a huge round of applause. That was amazing. Oh, man. Sorry about that.
Hi.
So our hackathon, HackTCNJ, is a relatively small one. Last year, we were not sponsored or officially listed on the MLH website. What is MLH going to do to help smaller hackathons grow their community?
Yeah, totally. Who are you and where are you from?
Like college or?
No, who are you and what school are you
my
from?
name is Henry. I'm from the College of New Jersey.
Awesome, cool. So this has been a constant challenge for MLH. This community grows significantly faster than we can acquire the resources to keep up with that growth. That's just the truth. I mean, when you have something that is a viral movement, that's just going to happen. But quite frankly, as an organization whose mission is to empower hackers, we need to do everything in our power to make sure that we're able to support all of the amazing work you do. And to be 100% honest, that's not going to be everything. And we're going to have to say no occasionally, and that breaks my heart every time we do it. That said, we do need to find other ways to support you. And there are a number of things that MLH does that are available to every single one of you, whether or not you're a member event. In the early days of MLH, the only way that you could work with us was by joining the league. You had to become a member event, and it was all or nothing. And slowly, we've been building out these new programs, things like localhost or local hack day. And in the spirit of learn, build, share, we realized that all this kind of expertise that's locked up in our head around organizing hackathons, that shouldn't just be reserved for member events. That should be open to everybody, and all of you should be able to contribute to it too. And so that's why we have open source resources like the guide. That's why peer groups are going to be open to every organizer in the community, whether or not you're organizing a member event. And that's why many of the freebies and benefits that we have are actually available to all the events in our community as well. To be more concrete and answering your question, what are we going to do to support smaller events? I think that we're going to have to reinvent the way that we think about how we support you. And quite frankly, it's going to be things like peer groups, it's going to be advice, it's going to be a lot of access to content and things that you can do without us being physically present there. And that transition is going to be a rocky one. If you're used to having us on site 100% of the time, that's just not going to scale as the community grows. And we're going to need to all work together to figure out what the alternatives are. So I'd say things that you should be looking for: participating in peer groups to get expert advice, because so that you can learn from everybody in the community and have access to an MLH expert. Participating in things like localhost, you can bring all of that content to your hackathons regardless of whether MLH is there. And then getting access to the software lab through the MLH website, all of the freebies and perks that we have for hackers, those are available to everybody in our community as well. And then events like Local Hack Day, we think will be, with them happening more frequently throughout the year, another opportunity for you to engage with us in your local community. So I think it's there are a lot more things we're doing, and I believe, as the leader of MLH, that we have an obligation to find new and interesting ways to support you in all the things you're doing. And if you have ideas, I'd love to hear them. But I think those are some starting points, and it's going to be a process we're all going to have to work through together.
Cool. All right.
Hi, I'm Deepraj from HackDV, the high school hackathon in India. I had a question related to, when is MLH going to expand to other countries so that's to let international hackathons become member events, so to say?
Totally, that's a great question. So in 2014, MLH had its first expansion. We opened the UK League, which quickly expanded into it's because you're next to the speaker, John. That was it? I don't know what's happening then. We expanded to the UK League in 2014, as well as Mexico. And then quickly those two leagues evolved into our International North American League, which now covers Mexico and Canada, and our Greater Europe League. But that was a long time ago. The truth is that we often need to wait for a critical mass of events in a place before we can go and launch a league. Both of those communities, the UK and Mexico, had a thriving group of organizers that were interested in organizing hackathons, but we're not actually all connected, and they were reaching out to us individually. There are a couple of other places in the world that have that effect right now, and I think it's something we're going to start thinking about and exploring. I'm not ready to announce anything yet, and when I do, trust me, the people in this room, you'll be the first ones to know about it, I promise, but it is something we're actively thinking about. It's something that I personally feel really strongly about. And it's something that I think is going to be really important if we believe that anyone can be a hacker. It's not just living in the US, it's not just living in North America, it's not just living in Europe. This is really a global community and we should do something about it. The other thing I'll add though before I wrap up with the answer to that question is we do already have a number of global events. Local Hack Day is a global event that supports events on every single continent. I'm aiming for Antarctica this year. We have literally tried 3 years in a row and I want it now, so it's going to happen. If you know anybody in Antarctica, connect them with me. Localhost is also internationally available, and we're actually working on improving our distribution so that we can actually have physical goods shipped to every single Localhost event internationally as well. And that's a process, and it'll come over time, but it is coming. And then our peer groups are also available to people all over the world. The problem right now is that they're bottlenecked by our staff that are all based in New York City, and we're going to be quickly expanding that program so that we do have international people who can support different time zones and needs, as well as hopefully language stuff too. I know there's a group of hackers from or organizers from Mexico here too, and I'm really excited to meet with all of them and talk about ways that we can expand our initiatives in Mexico. We've been there since 2014, and we're really proud to support them. But recently, since we stopped having full-time staff in Mexico, we've really struggled to keep that community thriving. And there's a lot of really passionate people, and I'm very excited to be there. But we need to kind of rethink what we're doing. And I know that Europe has definitely been experiencing some of the same challenges too. But it's something we know about, we're working on, and we are making active strides to fixing.
One more question. I see a hand in back there. Yeah, I think I saw you first.
Only one question. So sad.
Hi. What advice can you give to a team organizing a hackathon for the purpose of giving our city a tech identity? I'm Natalie, by the way, from Miami, FIU, Florida International University. We do shell hacks and mango hacks.
Hell yeah. I didn't actually hear the question. Could you repeat it? Sorry. Just speak closer to the mic.
No problem, no problem. What advice can you give for a team organizing a hackathon for the purpose of giving our city a tech identity?
Got it, yeah. I think that there's something really interesting about the work that all of us do. Often MLH organizers are focused on a specific school, right? So, you are HackRU at Rutgers, or you're specifically focused on building a local community. But there are many events in the MLH season that have a broader mission than that. And I think that some of the efforts that those events go through are really great examples that we can learn from, as well as all those events that are focused on building a community on campus. I'd say that the number one advice I have if you're looking to partner to grow your city's community is actually partner with the city. They have a ton of resources, and honestly, the Economic Development Center in your city is going to be the #1 place to go. They have all kinds of stuff, connections to companies, they may have access to venues, they may have access to funds actually to pay for parts of the event and help promote it and encourage people. They also have marketing channels that you can tap into. But almost every city in the world has some kind of dedicated organization that is working to increase the industry as well as the prosperity of that city. And I think that tech, knowing about the trends that we know about today, and the stuff I talked about, is a really important one to them. So I'd say partner with your local city. I'd say that in the same way that all of the really successful student hackathons reach out to other adjacent MLH communities, do the same thing in your city. If there are local tech incubators, accelerators, there's innovation councils, things like that, you should reach out to them and partner with them on the event. The same way that a group of students at Rutgers might partner with local universities like Princeton, TCNJ, whatever you might have. So I think those are really great. And honestly, just a lot of the work that we do telling people how to organize great student hackathons, that applies to every hackathon. Like, the truth is, a lot of professional organizations reach out to us and they say, MLH, help us organize great hackathons that are as good as the ones that the organizers in your community put on. And we say, you have the access to the same resources that every single other person in the world does. Come to some of our peer groups, read the guide, talk to the people in this community and ask them what they think, and they'll be there for you. But I think, concrete steps, reach out to your local economic development organization, partner with local groups in the community, and tap into the resources that are available to you through MLH already.